Hey guys, Dev here. So with ZA dropping tomorrow, we've got a whole bunch of new badge gear to look at. So today we're going to be jumping in and I'm going to be giving my thoughts and opinions on what I think of the new badge gear, letting you guys know what I'm going to be using and what I think you should pick up as well. So let's get straight into it. So the first item, and the one that I'm the most excited for, is the Libram of Divine Purpose. So this is a Libram item that's going to increase the damage done by your Seal of Righteousness and Judgment of Righteousness by up to 94. We still have to run it through the spell power coefficient of those abilities, but right now in the game, there doesn't exist a Libram that's going to increase our single target threat, with the exception maybe of the level 66 Consecration Aura, which generally isn't worth using when you're tanking a boss. This is a really nice option to have. If you're a new Prot Paladin, I'd still be buying the 15 badge Libram first. That's going to give you the ability to tank raid bosses a lot quicker. But this is a fantastic pickup for experienced Prot Paladins, or even you guys that are going to need some more threat in dungeons to hold bosses off really chunky tier 6 DPS. So very excited for this one. So the second item on my most excited list is the Sabatons of the Righteous Defender. These are a nice spell power boot. They've got 45 stam, 2 sockets, 1 red, 1 blue, which is extra juicy. Also come with spell hit rating, which is really nice. A bit of defense and shield block on them as well. So let's see how they stack up to the current boots. So right now, my spell power boots are Boots of the Protector. So as you can see, these are just a better Boots of the Protector. A little bit of defense rating lost, but that's really not a concern for us guys that have been tanking for a while. We've generally got more defense than we know what to do with. If you're not a blacksmith, you're probably still on the Boots of the Righteous path. So a huge step up in comparison to these. You do lose a little bit of spell power, but you've got those 2 sockets to play with, which I am going to probably socket these up just like this. Budget depending, you might want to use blue gems. I say blue in rarity, not color, but I really like 1 ruined, 1 spell power for these, especially if you're a raiding Prot Paladin. The main reason for that is when you look at the Tide Stomper Greaves, a boot that I don't have yet, they're somewhat comparable. So what I want to do is I want to take the Righteous Defender and I want to push them down that really heavy spell power threat road, and then I'll take my Tide Stomper's Greaves and I'll put the double stem gems in those, and I'll have those as my balanced boots. So great, really good boots. I think one thing to think about really quickly before we move on to the next piece, as you get more and more geared as a Prot Paladin, you want to have a set that is just stacked in spell power, especially if you're still helping guildies run those alt heroics, farming badges, whatever it may be. Main reason for that is, so if we just quickly look at the Tide Stompers versus the boots is a great example. The boots have 1.5% dodge on them. And if you're running heroic and you end up dodging most attacks or parrying, however it may be, taking no damage, you're going to turn into a Drinkadon. And you're going to be drinking after every single pull, and it's just not a fun experience. So make sure you do have that set that's going to allow you to take a steady stream of damage, like the Sabatons of the Righteous Defender. It's going to be very manageable. Alright, next up we've got the belt. So we've got the Iron Tusk Girdle. I'm going to advise you guys not to spend your badges on this one. Just wanted to make sure when we're talking about the belts, you know which one we're talking about. Don't spend your badges on this one. Leave this one for the warriors. The one you want to pick up is the Girdle of the Protector. So as you can see, this one's much more optimized for Prot Paladin. And looking at how it stacks up to the current belts that are out there, Belt of the Guardian, these two are extremely close. And if you already had a Belt of the Guardian, I'd probably tell you not to spend your badges on Protector early on. Personally, I like the stats on the Protector a lot better. Spell hit rating, defense dodge, and spell power in comparison to the 33 shield block value, which is a stat that I just don't rate that high. But, you know, pick up both if you've got the badges for it. I'll definitely have both in my toolbox. I'll probably use the Girdle of the Protector. And again, I'll be getting that gemmed up quite offensively. For the same reason, Girdle of Mighty Resolve is just a better belt. Girdle of Mighty Resolve's probably getting gemmed up with stem gems in it. So I'll be using that in my balance set, and I'll have my Girdle of the Protector for my just all-out threat set. Next up, let's jump into the cloaks. So the first one we're going to look at is the PvP cloak, which actually turns out to be a really good threat cloak. I know a lot of you guys have been using the Sergeant's Heavy Cape in your threat set, and this is just a straight up upgrade in every way, shape, and form. A little bit more armor, a little bit more stam, a little bit more int. We've got the spell crit rating going on there too, which now we're using Exo is quite nice. More resilience and 1 more spell power. So when you got the badges for it, If you're still using heavy cape, pick up subjugated power and you can bender your heavy cape. The other cloak option that we're going to look for here is the Slick's Cloak of Protection. What a name. So this one is basically a direct upgrade of the Phoenix Wing Cloak. And I just want to point out as well, even though these screen caps are taken from Wowhead, the bonus armor doesn't glow green on the Cloak of Protection. So 346 armor in comparison to 108 on the Phoenix Wing Cloak. It's a really nice armor step up, even though the cloaks do look very similar. And that's kind of what gives this cloak its value. A little bit of defense rating lost for that extra armor. I think it's a good trade-off, especially once you're well over your crit cap. And just to throw it in there too, we've also got the Thorium Cloak from Kara. I definitely prefer the Protection, so I would call this a direct upgrade over that too. You're just getting an extra 1.3% dodge, which is really nice. And then Peppies, which is a cloak I use in my Illidan set. A little bit of a niche thing when you're really geared and you don't need defense on every piece, but it is comparable to Peppies with more armor. So just, I think you definitely have a pick there, but if you're having to pick between Peppies and Cloak for Illidan tanking, I think you're already pretty geared at that point. So these legs are actually the best defense legs in the game right now for Prot Paladin come phase 5. So if we compare them to the Predatorians Leg Guards, these are a piece from Black Temple. Although they're not identical, they are very, very comparable. So a 2 stamina difference, you do lose a tiny bit of armor there. We got the 3 gem sockets, just like the Predatorians. The things that make the Predatorians quite crazy are the fact that they don't have any defense on them. But you do get that defense coming back with the Unwavering Leg Guards. So these are available for badges and are as good as roundabout a piece of loot from Black Temple, which is really cool. So something you can farm out on your off days. Really like it. Not sure if I'll be buying these. Not 100% sure, because I do have Predatorians. I also have tier 6. So I'll need to figure out if I can work these into a set. But if you're a new Prot Paladin that doesn't have access to Black Temple loot yet, these are an amazing item and should be something you pick up towards the end of your badge farm. On that same note, chest of the Stoic Guardian. I have tier 6 chests, so I don't need this, but if you don't have tier 6 chests, this is a really, really good pickup. I did want to touch on quickly, it does overlap with the 2 BIS tier 4 pieces that we use for the set bonus. So if you're using shoulders and chest, you may run into a problem where you can't get this on. But fresh Prot Paladin, you're probably not going to have tier 4 chest and shoulders on. This piece, amazing pickup, but I would make it one of the last things that you pick up with the badges. So that's that. Final piece that I'm going to touch on in this badge discussion. This one isn't on 70 upgrades if that's what you're using as your item manager right now, but it is available. I've jumped on the PTR, double checked it. Battlemaster's Audacity. The fact that you can't get the double icon trinket from Brewfest anymore if you're a fresh Prot Pal makes this really, really valuable. I love the oh shit button. One of the major problems I have on the Prot Paladin is you just really don't have an oh shit button outside of lay on hands. This is really nice. 3-minute cooldown, little mini last stand. Gives you something while you're wearing threat set too. So, you know, you can have a little cooldown to use, defensive cooldown. So there's that. I really like this. I'll probably get it myself. Last 3 items I want to touch on. 3 items that do fall into the tank kind of gear sets or could be used in a tank set. Probably wouldn't spend early badges on these. You might find use for the braces or the hands, but I would say buy them last after you've got everything else on this list. So that's all the badge gear that I'm excited about that's coming out in phase 5. So good luck out there farming those badges. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing and I'll see you in the next one.